This should be fun!
Family don't end with blood.
I regret this already.
Hello? Not an idiot. See ya!
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Give him the bits. The bits. The bits.
The things I do for love.
I will never, ever turn my back on people who need me. Cartoons.
Ain't that just the way?
I'm the highwayman.
It's a rock fact!
Today's episode features themes of death and dying. Only light though, so don't worry too much. The source material for today's episode is rated TV PG, which means it's good for everyone. To avoid any spoilers, please skip when you hear the huntsman singing. Or, if you don't know who he is yet, you'll hear some weird opera. Have fun!
This is, Why Should I Watch That? I'm Myra.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Jay. And we are here to discuss different types of media, such as TV shows, movies, anime. You think it, we watch it, to tell you if it's something you would like to watch or not.
To get your friends off your back about finally watching the show.
And save you time if it sucked.
Yep. We are... Well, me in particular, I go into the research of the Easter eggs and any source materials that there might be, as well as any wholesome fan fiction and not so wholesome.
We won't be talking about that.
At least not in this one.
No! Oh no.
I also am the manager, I guess, of the group. I make sure that we have our episodes up on time for everybody and organize it so that we know what sort is coming up, so that we don't forget to watch the shows we need to watch.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sam?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Yeah. I do a lot of the more theme-based elements of the show, the overarching allegories and analogies and thematic elements within the show. I tend to find the emotional fandom, whether that's heartbreaking or joy-bringing, it depends, but, I find it can be fun, it can be really sad, depends on the day. I'm also in charge of our socials, so 9 times out of 10, when we post, it'll be me trying to figure out how to work social media. So there we go.
Hello, this is Jay again. I do a lot of our editing, and by a lot, I mean most. I am the techie, even though I technically don't qualify to be a techie.
Hush, you are a techie.
Overall, for the actual, deep dives and stuff, I focus on overall fandom and the dark side of the fandom. I crackpot theories and shit like that. I also look into a lot of lore in my free time, and that's gonna come through. And I also do art and stuff, so if our logo suddenly changes, hi.
It'll be magnificent.
Also pronouns. I go by he, they.
She, they.
She, her,
Hershey.
Hershey. I like chocolate. I think you should know a little bit about ourselves. We are been friends for quite a while now. I think
a few years.
Yeah. 2 years, I think. We've known each other.
3, 4 years.
You and I have known each other for 6 years.
Yeah, going on 6 years now.
And I think Jay's 3
or 4.
Oh, the baby. I don't think it's been 4.
Feels like a long time.
It's been a while.
We met through D&D.
Yeah, we met through D&D. We're natural nerds. We are
organically grown nerds.
If you don't have any natural, store-bought is fine.
I'm the awkward one of the group. No, actually, I think we're all awkward.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm the other awkward one of the group.
We're all awkward. We decided to do this podcast because we, on our spare time, get together and literally discuss shows all the time.
Deadass, one time I drove Sam home from D&D and we sat in my car for almost 6 hours rewriting Legend of Korra. So, like...
Maybe we'll get to it.
Myra had her own car, so she wasn't there, but she would have been. It would have been
no,
great.
me and Sam have had the same situation several times.
Not that Legend of Korra is bad, it's just we would have fixed
We're gonna cover
something.
it, don't
Well,
worry.
we'll get-
Yes,
we'll
we
get-
will get
on
there.
it. We're
We
covering
will
it.
get there. Just like, I mean, there are days where we get together and we don't intend to, and then end up discussing
And then it's
how
3
to
in the
fix
morning.
shows.
And then it's 3 in the morning and we're talking about the newest episode of Morbid and how some dude did some weird shit and Sam is very uncomfortable.
Yes. And just so y'all know, we love podcasts ourselves.
We listen to a variety of them.
Yes, and you
from-
may hear us give them shout outs because they are amazing. All of them, they work hard and they do an amazing job.
And sometimes we might make references that are familiar, but not too familiar.
Well,
But not too not familiar. And it's probably a reference from one of them.
Yes.
probably.
We are here to have fun.
All of this is our opinion. We have, just what we've seen in the show, our interpretation of said show, or
We have thoughts,
movie.
brains, and neurons, and sometimes they fire differently in other people, but these are what ours made and turned into words.
And we are definitely not here to offend anybody. If you get offended, I'm
We're here-
sorry.
We're here for a good time. Hopefully a long time, but we'll find out.
Also, we're here for criticism and conversation, so
Yes,
if you have a different
please.
feel, hit us up on our socials, of which I don't know the names of, and tell us about what you think, and I don't know, maybe we'll be like, oh shit, I never thought about it that way.
Yes, please.
Or maybe we'll be like, that bitch is wrong, but like, okay.
And if you have potential show, movie suggestions, hit us up on our socials. We'll put them in the link.
And we'll probably read them off at the end too, just
Yes,
so they're there.
we will.
You don't want to hear about them right now.
Yeah, and we
Or do you?
we are also very much. I'm not down for any hateful. If you don't like us, just don't listen to us. If you like us, please continue to listen to us. If you don't like us, don't leave us hateful stuff because you're gonna get deleted anyways. So
Valid
The world is
criticism.
going to delete you.
we don't.
Valid criticism is welcome. But if you're just here to be like, oh my god, meh.
If
Also-
you're hateful, you're gone. If you're
Yeah.
here to give us, hey, maybe you should have seen it in this way,
Yeah.
we are not gonna hate you for it because everybody has an opinion.
Also, that goes straight back to us as well. We are not here for hate from you or from us. So if something that we say seems kind of, sharp, just point it out because it's not meant that way. Like,
All of this comes from a good-natured
yeah. Unless
place.
it's season 3 Legend of Korra.
We don't talk about season 3 Legend of Korra.
I'm just kidding. Okay,
Again,
so-
we will discuss that later, and you will hear the feelings. There are feelings.
There are many a feeling.
For now, what are we talking about?
Over the Garden Wall from Cartoon Network. It's
You can actually find it if you have not seen it. It is free on subscriptions of Hulu, subscriptions of HBO Max. If you do not have either of those, you can buy the entire season on YouTube, Amazon, and Google Play and iTunes.
correct.
So you have plenty of options. I don't think Cartoon Network is currently has it up on their website
Or their
or
No.
their app. Which
It originally aired on Cartoon Network. Now it's on, the entirety is on Hulu if you have a Hulu subscription.
it is also on
It's only
HBO.
like 9 episodes, isn't it?
10 episodes.
10 episodes.
Yeah, it's
I-
not bad.
So
The entire runtime is, in fact, only 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Are
So-
you fucking serious?
yes.
Yeah.
So if you want to binge
It's-
a show for 2 hours and 30 minutes,
It's pretty
This-
short, all
yeah.
things considered.
And honestly, it
excuse
does
me.
You're excused. It does a really good job of encompassing all of the feelings of fall. Like, there's some spooks, there's some cutes. It has autumn energy,
It's peak fall.
which
Media.
is a
Yes.
perfect first episode.
I know,
Yes.
look at us.
Um,
So, some general information about Over the Garden Wall. Thank you. It left my brain.
Also, please keep in mind we're a bunch of neurodivergent fuck-ups, so like, when the
Bear
brain
with
don't
us.
do, someone from the hive mind will get it.
So, the writer and major creative director was Patrick McHale. This was his baby. It started off as a short film entitled Tomb of the Unknown, which was his pilot, his pitch to Cartoon Network. He started working on this, I think, back in what, 2004?
2004, and it got picked up in 2013.
Yeah. So he worked on this for close to 10 years on and off. Some of the main actors are Elijah Wood as Wirt, Colin Dean as Greg, and Melanie Lukinski, I think I said that right, as Beatrice. And those are the main three characters that we interact with throughout the show.
This show is based of two brothers who are lost in woods.
The woods.
Trying to get home. That is the main basis of the show. We go through their journey to get home from these woods, and we experience some very interesting things.
They overall kind of get tripped up by some magical characters, I guess you could say. There's a lot of like spooky elements to them, a lot of magic, and some I would use the word demonic lightly.
It's very much a like classic fairy tale vibe with modern sensibilities is the best way I could describe it.
So, real quick, me and Sam had not seen this show before we decided to watch it for the first episode. Jay had the opportunity to see it beforehand, and he suggested, since we wanted to start off, since we're in the fall, let's do something fall-y. So we decided to go ahead and do this show, and we're going to go ahead and tell you what our first opinions before watching the show were, and then we're going to go deep into just a synopsis, so it's going to be
no spoilers. The first bit.
I'll put in a bit of audio before we actually start talking about spoilers. So if you're kind of idly listening to us and you suddenly hear some music, this is your hint. If you're idly listening and you hear music and you don't want spoilers, you should move on with your day or go watch it and come back.
My first impressions of the show were very much like spooky, quirky kind of children's TV show, into the woods kind of vibes with, some talking animals, a horse that has maybe some kleptomania energy.
I felt connections to the horse, actually.
I wonder why. Every D&D character you play collects something. And then I stole it!
Even though I could have just,
You have enough money you have the gold to buy things, you're just like, I choose to steal.
I remember when I first saw it, I was really, really excited for the fall energy.
Before seeing it, like, seeing the captions and everything, previews of the show, I felt like it was going to be a very Hansel and Gretel feel, but in a different kind of light. And I also felt like it was going to be very Disenchantment, which is another show we may eventually get to. But it's that fairy tale that's told in a completely different light that you have not heard of before. And I think I was sort of not disappointed with that.
I honestly thought it would be much more of an ensemble piece than it was. The gift sets that I had seen on Tumblr and various other medias made it seem very much an ensemble show. And I wasn't displeased that it wasn't. It was just different than I expected.
Yep. So now that you know a little bit about the show, I'm going to just let you know what each episode was about.
Yeah, we're going to do a general episode synopsis real fast so you guys know the general plot. And then we will go into different fun elements and themes.
And Future Jay will put music in right now.
Here we go.
Okay. Episode 1. I'm just going to read it off online so it's...
This is the Hulu episode description. There are theoretically no surprises. Let's go.
Okay. Lost in the mysterious woods of the unknown, two brothers named Wirt and Gregory run into a jaded old woodsman who
Bitter.
warns them to be wary of the terrifying beast that roams the dark forest. Episode 2. Oh, I'm gonna also should give you the names of the episodes, so I will do that from now on correctly. Episode 1 is called The Old Grist Mill. Grist Mill.
Mm-hmm.
English is my second language, so I'm sorry if I misspell shit. Or mispronounce. I misspell
shit too. Jay said, all of us are neurodivergent. Myra's second language is in fact English. There's gonna be some goofs.
We are imperfect human beings, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly imperfect or allegedly human?
Yes.
Excellent.
The second episode is called Hard Times at the Huskin Bee. A bluebird named Beatrice offers to guide Wirt and Greg to Adelaide. Of the pasture and help them get home. But when Wirt refuses her help, he ends up leading them all night into a big mess of trouble at the annual Pottsville Harvest Festival. And then episode 3 is Schooltown Follies. Greg, Wirt, and Beatrice get all mixed up in a musical antics of a schoolhouse of animals. A lovelorn teacher, a grouchy old benefactor, and an escaped gorilla.
Alright. Episode 4. Beatrice is left out in the rain with a brainless horse while Wirt and Greg must ask for directions in a lively colonial tavern called the Dark Lantern. This episode is called Songs of the Dark Lantern. I fucked it up too. Where some surprising secrets are revealed about the unknown. Episode 5. Mad Love. Is millionaire Quincy Endicott's sprawling mansion haunted by a beautiful ghost, or is the Tea Baron going mad? Greg and Fred, the horse, are on the case. Meanwhile, Wirt and Beatrice get trapped in an armory while searching for loose change.
Armoire.
I don't know how to speak that language.
It's the fancy rich
Episode 6. Lullaby in the Frogland. We join Wirt and Greg in a lighthearted romp aboard the Frogland ferry as they approach Adelaide of the pasture. But why is Beatrice acting so glum?
The ringing of the bell. After unexpected darkness tears the gang apart, Wirt takes charge and meets Lorna, a young woman forced to do housework by an odious witch with a magical bell. Can Wirt and Greg save Lorna and themselves from the Wicked Witch? Episode 8, Babes in the Wood. While Wirt and Greg lay down to rest, they're drawn into a dream world of cherubs, flowers, and clouds, where Greg must battle the north wind. Meanwhile, Wirt has given up hope of getting home, causing Greg to realize that it may take more than dreams and wishes to complete their journey. Episode 9, Into the Unknown. The origin of Wirt and Greg's descent into the unknown reveals itself. And then episode 10, the final episode, The Unknown. The beast has come, the final chapter begins. So that is the episode summary as per Hulu.com. Do we want to...
So going based on what we talk about,
Yeah.
I guess I'll start with at least going over what originally started this, which was that short story called Into the Unknown. Tome of the Unknown, sorry.
Tome of the Unknown. Tome of the Unknown.
So this, again, like Sam had said earlier, has started off from the creator 10 years in the making, really. He pitched it to Home Depot. Oh my god. Incorrect. Sorry.
Home Depot.
Uninspected item in the bagging era.
He pitched it to Cartoon Network he pitched it to Cartoon Network as a 3-season show.
Yeah, I think it was originally supposed to be like 18 episodes.
Yes.
They cut that short.
He cut it very short.
Well, yeah, by the time they actually got around to production, they were like, okay, you have like 6 months to do this, run!
Yes.
And
So-
he went,
That actually explains it.
Which, it was actually very cool that the fact that they used all American creators, I guess, or American...
Typically, that kind of stuff gets outsourced.
Yeah, the only thing that got outsourced was actually the artwork, which was outsourced to South Korea.
Yeah. Random side fun fact, a lot of the Steven Universe stuff gets outsourced to South Korea as well. I'm surprised they did not outsource similarly. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah, they did. The only thing they outsourced, all the writing and everything was done in the U.S. The thing that they did outsource was the actual artwork, but the creators did all the storyboards themselves. So a lot of it comes from them. They also, when they pitched, I believe, at the same time Adventure Time. So they took Adventure Time and decided to wait off on this.
do you mean The Misadventures of Flapjack?
They took both of them, actually.
Were they on at the same time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just about.
Okay.
I think Adventure Time and Flapjack aired at the same time. Adventure Time just took off.
Adventure Time
Flapjack eventually faded back.
Yes.
The series got canceled. Adventure Time was allowed to finish.
Ah.
And I guess from the success of Adventure Time, they're like, okay, we'll give you this. And they decided to make that short. That short is only 9 minutes and 30 seconds long, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's
quirky. I've watched it. You're not missing a whole lot if you've seen the show.
It feels like it could have been just an episode in the show, really.
I missed it.
Kind of. It's a little too lighthearted, in my opinion, to be an episode of the show. There's not enough ambient creepiness.
I agree on that, but the reason I think it could be part of the show is the way that...
Oh, no. Yeah, like, that's the general premise of the pilot, is to be like, this is the flavor I'm trying to present, Cartoon Network. Please give me a show, please.
I like that they didn't stick with that flavor, though, because
I agree.
It went a completely different route than I had expected, because with the way they presented that short, it definitely did not give me the vibes that the show gave me from
absolutely
episode
not.
2, honestly. Episode 1, I was still a little, Episode 2, I was like, oh, this is probably what's happening, I'm not sure, and then episode 8 validated me.
See, I'm such a slut for classic fairy tales. The minute the Snow White trees came on screen, I was like, yes, sign me the fuck up. I was ready for wherever this 10-episode show was taking me.
Yes. I mean, no, I'm not saying that episode 1 didn't catch my attention, but episode 1 did not give me that red string theory that episode 2 did.
Personally, for me, I remember when I first watched the show, that one of the reasons I'm kind of staying quiet right now is because when I first watched it, I really didn't like it. So I'm kind of letting the two who got a raw experience and have positive thoughts initially kind of pilot that. When I first saw it, I remember being really let down by episode 1 because when Cartoon Network first aired a lot of the promo material, it seemed like it was going to be an action adventure with Halloween vibes, and what I got was
Misadventure.
It felt like soft cottagecore spooks, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but like when a lot of the
promotional material.
When a lot of the promotional material is like this beast in the background always haunting you and spooky, scary pumpkins, and to have this kind of like really lighthearted air, it kind of threw me off at first,
which is fair.
Yeah.
It was a bad promotional job.
Yeah. Actually, now that you mentioned the fact that the old promotion, I'm thinking back, and at the time, it was 2014, so I was still relatively young, but I was not in high school.
Oh my god, don't fall! For our dear listeners, Jay almost took a tumble out of his chair. It was bad.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
That's what I get for sitting gay. Okay, I'm fine.
But yeah, it's very much a juxtaposition of the advertising and the promotional material versus the actual content. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people who came into it after the promotional material, and after it finished airing, were like, oh, it's just like fun autumn vibes with some light spooks, had a better reception of it because they knew it was just going to be fun autumn vibes with some light spooks, as opposed to...
Actually, you would be surprised. I remember back when it first came out that, a lot of people were super into it, even despite the kind of misleading promotional stuff. I remember when this show first took off, I was the minority in my friend group who was not a big fan, which I've changed my tune. I'm one of those people that after I get out of my own,
headspace,
my own preconceived notions, I receive things better. So now, once I knew what I was getting for, the show was better. But I was the minority out of it. It was not the majority.
Like I said, I remember now that I'm thinking back, I remember seeing the promotionals, and I wanted to see it because it looked like a horror, action thing. Mm-hmm. And I honestly don't remember why I didn't watch it.
I think I was in the middle of moving from New Jersey to Georgia in 2014. So I think that's why I
think I know what I was doing, but I have to check something time-wise. There was a new Steven Universe episode that came out the day that it premiered, and I chose it over that.
Valid.
But I watched it once it came out on Xfinity. Or whatever the first... I watched it there.
Excellent.
I think it was one of the first ones that was doing primetime record thing.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah. Did we want to go into some major themes throughout the show
I
and
think
then
that would be good.
Dive into how the episodes handle it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So at least for me, this is, my perspective. Some of the major themes are nothing is how it appears. That is a consistent element throughout the entire show. Every episode, the framework, how you are presented with information, distrust everything. Nothing. Red string theory all the way through.
Something to keep in mind, as adults, it's a little less so, but that vibe is definitely there.
Yes.
As an adult, you're sitting there okay, no, I see where this is going, but narratively, they were going for it and they hit it.
It was very well executed.
Mm-hmm.
The show really explores sibling relationships in
definitely.
A major way.
Yeah, definitely.
And they do it very well. It's one of the better sibling explorations I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Also, side note, they come from a broken, not broken family, but a
unconventional,
a recently stitched back together family. Their parents are divorced.
Societal expectations and the roles they thrust upon the young individuals within our society and the fundamental corruption of said young individuals. Which sounds kind of heavy for a kid's show, but it's there.
I mean, episode 1 alone throws you into that.
It really does feel like an American fairy tale. That was something I really jived with while watching the show. It explores elements of freedom and self-choice, which kind of ties back into the fundamental corruption thing. And then also purgatory and death.
Mm-hmm. It also has a lot of, mental illness kind of allegories.
Yes.
There's a lot, personally for me, when you get to the episode where you kind of find out where Wirt and Greg are from and their, actual backstories, it's
episode 9?
8.
8 or 9?
8 or 9.
8 or 9.
For me, watching the way that Wirt reacts to the world around him was a really good example of how anxiety leads to depression. Because the two disorders do come hand in hand. Usually when you have anxiety, you also have depression in some way, shape, or form. And it really, for me, watching the way that his anxiety influenced the way he reacted with other people and forced him to pull away, really
hit home.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that played out that way. And just the way he pushed everyone away was really
It was a very relatable exploration
Yes.
of anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Wirt, it was a lot. You see it throughout a lot of different characters.
Well, even Greg, I would say, is an exploration of denial of one's emotional state.
Yeah, it's like how the comedian is always the saddest one.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, I mean, when you go into their background and you find out that Greg is his half-brother because her mom...
Step-brother.
No, half-brother.
Half-brother? I thought they were
Half-brother.
step-brothers.
Half-brother.
Okay.
Because he says, your dad has ruined me. So it's his dad, they have the same mother.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
to me, the fact that you get into this and you start seeing him in a completely different light, because you, especially in episode 8, where you see him willing to say, because you see how bad Wirt treats him. I mean, episode 1, you go into this awful sibling
One of
shit,
the
like, you're
first
right.
notes I took notes while watching the show in preparation for this podcast. One of my first notes is Wirt kind of crossed out kind of bad brother in all caps exclamation points.
And you have rights on that, because he treats his brother so bad. He sees him as his not his burden. I think he sees him more as the thorn on his side, that it's his fault everything's wrong.
Yeah.
It's if his mom hadn't married his dad, it wasn't wouldn't be here, and he would not be causing him all this pain.
Wirt has a really big habit of blaming things externally when they are not external, and I agree entirely. He is a flawed narrator, like, to a T.
I think within the first episode he says, "Greg, this is all your fault," 3 or 4 times, and the episodes are only about 15 minutes long.
They're 12 minutes long.
12
exactly.
minutes long.
Yeah, they're short episodes. So, but with your topic of, you know, that sibling relationship, I do like how they explored the sibling growth.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Like, jumping ahead a little bit, episode 8 really explores how much more mature Greg is than Wirt.
And
Which is weird to say.
Yeah, because I think, like, episode 5, you really realize that Wirt is probably like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Throughout the first 4 episodes, you're thinking he's probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah, the way they're drawn makes it seem like they're younger than they actually are, which isn't a complaint, just an observation.
Yep. And so when you really get into episode 5, you realize, oh shit, he's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see how obviously he's in high school. His little brother at least has to be just 10-ish.
Yeah.
We really don't know how old he is. They never really touch into it. But you can still say, no, he's definitely younger. And the fact that he's
young enough to maintain that childlike innocence. So I would say he's probably like 6th grade at the earliest.
Yes.
Or at the oldest.
And the fact that he is willing to, in episode 8, willing to make this decision to save his
Jay,
brother.
stop falling off your chair!
It just feels like I'm falling. I'm not actually falling.
He makes a decision to save his brother, shows his maturity.
Right. In episode 8, it's kind of acid trippy, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it is.
Wirt essentially gives up all hope for life and lays down to essentially die. And then Greg, he lays down to take a nap, but more of a regenerative nap. And while he's asleep, he dreams of this happy-go-lucky, too happy to be true, video game logic kind of dream.
I kind of read that scene as going to heaven.
Yeah.
I did, until she said you can go, you
have a choice to make.
You have a choice to make. And at that point, I know we've discussed purgatory. You mentioned that it's
Right.
purgatory, and I know we haven't touched on it yet. But at that point, I felt like she's saying, you can choose to live or save your brother.
Well,
See, I read it more as you can choose to pass on and go to heaven or stay in purgatory, and I'll see you later.
an interesting note, in the original storyboard, Wirt was never going to make it out of the unknown.
And that makes a lot of sense. It honestly, like, to me, that scene seemed like Greg's ticket out, and Greg only, which is heavily stressed in the scene, but like, to me, it felt like Greg was getting his pass to heaven, and Wirt was continuing to stay in purgatory.
Well, because here's the thing. Greg, in this scene, he battles the North Wind. And the North Wind, in everything that I found, is symbolism for a driving force of change. Mm-hmm. And it's inescapable, no matter how you look at it. And especially based off of what the Patrick McHale has said has been his inspiration, which is, old-time American literature, like grapes of wrath type energy. The North Wind is a huge element in that story as well. It pervades the homesteads, and you find little granules of the wind in your house, even though you try to board yourself up, you shelter it. And the little angels and like other characters in this dream episode try to shelter themselves from the North Wind, but they get swept up in it as well. And so Greg facing that head on, facing that change, that driving destructive force, really shows that he's so much more mature and ready to adapt to whatever new life looks for him. Mm-hmm. Whether that's with Wirt or without.
Yeah.
Yes. Going on to symbolisms. I guess we touched on, you said purgatory.
Yes. It's a huge element of the story. Oh my goodness. So one of the things I love about this show is each episode has a title card. And each title card has like little old-timey portraits of the major characters. And instead of the beast, they have a skull with wings attached to it at like the center frame. And for me, that's very much symbolism for the angel of death. And like how the beast represents this driving force of death and destruction for the boys.
I think that was like the major theme throughout the whole show.
Right.
For me, it hit home in episode 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the fact that you're going through this harvest festival, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a harvest
Pottsfield.
festival, but it's interesting that it's Pottsfield, and with the little Easter eggs that I like to find. Pottsfield was supposed to be... Potter's Field is where they used to bury the poor people, or people that didn't have anything to pay for a funeral or anything like that. Yeah. So it's very interesting that that's where they ended up, and the name of the town, and they're digging up the bodies. Mm-hmm. At the end of that episode as well is, throughout that episode you see Wirt being like, oh, I like this place. I should probably stay here. Like, this is a nice place. And Greg's like, no, we gotta go, bud. And so is Beatrice. Beatrice is like, you fool! You fool. Like, they're fooling you. Mm-hmm. And throughout that episode, you see him going, but what if I stay? And then they find the bodies, of course, and you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah, you're digging your own graves, you fools.
Yeah.
And that also goes into, it's not what you think, because...
Every episode has this, like, shit moment of...
anxiety-inducing.
Yes.
What am I going to do now? Because for the first episode, it's the huntsman. And the huntsman is portrayed initially as this evil, potentially murderous, mysterious man in the woods who ends up trying to be kind of like the Grim Reaper, as Jay had mentioned.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned that
a long time ago in a prior discussion.
Yeah, this is the third time we're recording this episode.
It's been a day.
Yeah, so basically, the way that I kind of saw the Beast and the Huntsman, the Beast kind of strikes me as, like, death, like, the embodiment of death, and the Huntsman kind of strikes me more as the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper is kind of they lead you to the afterlife, and the way that the Huntsman kind of tries to help them out throughout the series and, you know, kind of, not necessarily guide them, but kind of be a, he tries very hard to almost be, like, fatherly to them, which I feel like is a stance that the Grim Reaper would take in a child-focused role. He kind of seems like he's trying to lead them through purgatory, and, yeah.
It gets interesting.
And I find it interesting, the first 5 episodes, really the first 5 episodes. The 5th episode really is a turning point in the story.
Total vibe check.
Yeah, the first 5 episodes, you get this whole feeling of it's sort of wholesome, it's not bad, it's
light.
It's light. It's light, it's wholesome, it's not, you're not thinking that, you don't have a fear for their lives. You know there's something out there to get them, because you start getting the vibe of the unknown, which is the Beast.
And the Huntsman's first lines are, "Beware the Beast. The Beast will come and get you."
And something I really like about the Beast is that opera music they use for him.
It's so good.
You can allude to the Beast just by having that music without him even being on screen, and that is such a cool.
And they do that so well and constantly throughout the series. Like, every time they get slightly off of where they need to be, the music starts, and you're just like, oh no, boys.
I like how they use the music also to the music.
The music, yes.
Sorry.
We got interrupted.
Yes.
Recording real time, folks.
Fun shit that happens in real life. So I think it's either episode 8 or episode 10. There's a scene with, it's going to be episode 10, with Greg and the Beast are together.
Oh,
and the music of the Beast is playing in the background, but if you listen closely, they're singing potatoes and maple syrup.
Molasses.
Potatoes and molasses in Latin.
In Latin.
It's in fucking Latin,
They're
you guys.
singing it in Latin, which I thought was amazing. And a good Easter egg, too. If you're not paying attention to it.
This show has so much Catholic's vibe. Like, I swear to God. It's...
Changing your title to honorary Catholic.
So
I know.
I don't know if the creator is actually Catholic, but he grew up in New Jersey, which, if you know anything about New Jersey, is predominantly Catholic. You know, purgatory is not an unfamiliar concept to Catholicism.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's very there. It's there. It's there.
And it's a really interesting concept. And the creator himself actually was asked about, is this like a metaphor for purgatory? And he's like, that would be very interesting, wouldn't it? That would provide some interesting, theories, and that would make their situation extremely interesting, huh? Mm-hmm. And
it's basically unavoidable at this point. Like, when they come out of the lake, like, in episode 1, when they're walking through the forest, they are just walking through a forest. They are not moist. They are not wet. There is no water to be seen. But the second they come out of that lake at the very end of the series, right before we go into the finale, they roll down, they fall into the lake, and they come out. Like, that's it. There is no stop. They do not pass go. The entire series is taking place
in the span of like a minute
max.
Yeah.
And I find it really interesting, too, that, like, throughout their journey through this, like, pseudo-purgatory, that, there are logical reasons for the wind, but the allegory of them getting constantly colder as they're freezing in this water is also, like, it's a really good, like, link
chef's
up.
Kiss.
Yeah, chef's kiss. It's good.
And I find it how they threw little things within the story. Wart, throughout the whole series, has 2 different color shoes. Throughout the whole series. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think of this. Sam had mentioned it earlier in one of our many
attempts.
That it could be that he has 1 foot in the grave.
That was Jay.
Oh, that was Jay. Sorry.
Give Jay credit where credit is due.
It was
Jay.
Jay.
I say that too, and I was like, God damn it, she's about to tell everyone Sam's smarter than me.
No,
I mean,
Sam is. We are all equally smart. We don't always have the brain.
We share one brain cell between the three of us, and it rotates.
It rotates. It's doing a very good job of being balanced right now.
I know.
Yes,
a third of it, and I'm impressed.
It's working great. So
My brain cell's going.
But I do like that they put in a lot of little things throughout the show that
the score absolutely makes the show.
Yes.
Unequivocally.
The score is beautiful. I think they did a wonderful job with that score.
And they actually hired a whole bunch of, like, folk and traditional country singers. Not like, stadium country, but, like, traditional country singers to be the background voice actors so they would have decent singing voices. Because if you listen to the score or have seen the show, you know that it's very much influenced by that, like, old-timey twang, banjo-esque kind of music.
And, like, a lot of classical music. Like, a lot of the violins. I don't know why, but for some reason the opening card scene where they play the violins real hard always gave me, like, weird goosebumps. Like, ooh. Yeah. Like, so, it's like a level of unease that shouldn't necessarily come with it, but, like,
they do a good job of making it eerie.
Yeah, yes. It's like they didn't change the key and they didn't change the tempo, but for some reason in this specific scenario, something's spooky.
Violins are sus.
Yes.
Violins are so sus.
But definitely, it has a lot of... You got the symbolisms very well, I gotta admit. You did a wonderful job. I'm gonna give you props on that because I wouldn't have done the shit that you would have done.
Listen, I had one strength in high school, and that was looking at a piece of media and going, this is what I think it means, and somehow being right. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'm right.
I'll give that to you today.
Can I give you one more because I'm really proud of it?
Okay.
And you guys have heard it before, but I'm reading it off anyway.
Sure.
So, we are backtracking hardcore. The episode where they have the lady doing the teacher stuff, and she's like, oh, let me sing about my lover who's a cheating bastard, and he's doing all this bad stuff.
Who's suddenly British.
Okay, in my notes, I shit you not, it says, teacher has a weird cadence in her voice.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gave her a British accent because that was the D&D in me coming out, and that's my default. She sounds weird. Why she do that with her voice? But it turns out she's hating on her lover, fiance, whatever, for leaving her, and she's like heartbroken and crestfallen. And at the same time, her dad is like being really mean and trying to defund the school and stuff. And then by the end of the episode, you learn. The lover is actually stuck in a costume, and he's been trying to get help for 3 days, and everyone's too scared of him to help, and the father is only being mean and strict because he's trying to keep the school open. So that episode really like stood out to me, like, and I wrote this down, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm never going to sound this smart again. So we're peaking in high school, everybody. I am coming up on episode 1, and I'm going to go down from here. Sometimes the people we demonize in our own narratives are doing their best and are simply going through hard times in their own. So, like, yeah, it was really interesting to see that, like, in a show where, like,
it's meant for kids, but it handles
it's like
real issues.
Like, someone who's coming into work really late a lot of the time and not pulling a lot of weight, you find out is, like, going through some really bad shit at home. Like, it's that kind of, like, vibe. It's really interesting to see, like, hey, your narrative isn't the only one that matters, and, like, you should think about that in a show designated for a younger audience.
Right, and at the same time, they're also pulling this, trying to make someone into something they're not is a fundamental drain on your resources, your time, and your energy, and is ultimately a useless endeavor. And for me, the whole teaching...
You're talking about the animals again.
I'm talking about the animals again.
God damn it.
And I know we talked about this earlier, but teaching... You can't teach a pig to sing was what really came to mind for that whole school because they kept showing one of the most featured animals in that episode was the pig, and for me the whole
It's the raccoon.
well, there's the raccoon, but like in the school when they're in the school,
I would say pug, if we're talking in the school.
Yeah.
Go
No,
ahead.
the deer.
No, go ahead. No, the deer was outside with the raccoon.
you can't teach a pig to sing.
But you can teach a frog to sing.
Shh, frogs sing already. That's what we say though. But like the whole it struck me because, you know, the school's defunct, they don't have any money, no one wants to put any money into a fundamentally what they perceive as a useless endeavor. And
Okay.
And yet the animals can play instruments.
But
And they also understand Wirt when he's talking.
Yeah.
And they have clothes.
They understand Greg too.
yeah, I know. I'm just saying, for me, that's an element that I think.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I get that, 100%.
In my brain, the whole... you already heard this, I'm saying it again though.
Mm-hmm.
In my brain, that school struck me similarly to like how Meowth learning how to talk was. Like, it's not something that he technically should be able to do, but like, he gonna learn it anyway.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like in that show, the representation of animals is so like fluid.
They're
like,
synonymous with humans almost.
yeah, they are. It's a show of furries. God damn.
No!
What?
It's a show of furries.
What is the show?
Over the garden wall! What else are we talking about?
I'm sorry, I got confused. It happens. No, I think you're right in the aspect that she's doing something it's gonna lead nowhere.
Yeah,
but
like,
I thought it was interesting that she's teaching these animals, right? And then all of a sudden, here's a gorilla. She's a teacher of animals. And they're not even the own animals are putting the effort to try to communicate with the gorilla. The own animals don't understand it. So I felt like, because later on, of course, we find out that it was her fiance going blah, blah, blah. But to me, it sounds like they couldn't understand because, in all honesty, their brain capacity was a lot higher than it was to understand normal animal speak.
Right.
well, okay, like
He also wasn't an animal.
my brain, where did it go? Oh
I
no,
took
come
it
back,
and stole it.
please. Also, back in the day where that specific school is set, schools closing from lack of funding was a really big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
it happened a lot.
It happened a lot.
So, like, in my brain, they were just kind of playing off of the like, time period, because, like,
Sure.
knowledge was not always this, like,
Priority.
necessary priority that we kind of have it as today. And fun fact of the... Rock fact.
Rock fact!
Rock fact. This one may be real. It's real. The main reason that we go to school now, the main reason school was, put in
Mandatory.
place as a thing is so that, not so we would learn things and have general knowledge, but so we would learn how to follow orders so we would be more useful in the workforce.
Yep. Schools are based off of factory work schedules.
Yep. Anyway, back to this. Yeah. You don't not have rights.
Yeah.
But, so the reason I think it's relevant to bring up is because in the very next episode, Greg and Wirt find themselves in a tavern where society is telling them what to do. Wirt gets assigned 3 different roles by society within minutes of meeting these people. And each of these tavern goers have a role within society. You know, you meet the innkeeper, the tailor, the highwayman, and...
That man would have given me nightmares if I was a child.
Oh
Right?
my gosh, yeah.
It was creepy.
If I was any that animation, I don't know who did that, but props to you. You scared the shit out of a 27-year-old. Am I 27?
Jay forgot how old he is, and it's official.
Cut to Jay counting on his fingers.
Fuck you. Why are you outing me?
So while Jay does that, I think that episode also had a lot of symbolism, which was
28.
a lot of
forgot.
a lot of Easter eggs, which were really interesting to me.
Yeah. So like, Greg gets assigned. Not Greg. I keep calling him Greg. Wirt gets assigned the
You're seeing
dunce.
him with the face tune now.
So Wirt gets assigned the dunce, the lover, and the pilgrim. And these are all roles that he himself sees himself as. Because he doesn't think of himself as smart or clever or, deserving of any kind of respect. He is a lover because he's in love with Sarah. And shout out to Patrick McHale for giving kids, a female love interest who's also a person of color. We can't really tell because she's in, clown makeup. But, her hands are dark.
Yeah. Props to you for actually putting diversity in.
Woo.
Slightly less props for covering her face up for the majority of her screen time. Slightly less rights for her only being on scene for, 1.5 episodes, maybe. But, still, it's more than what most people have done. So, yeah.
Good for you? ? But he is a lover. And then he is a pilgrim. He is journeying through purgatory.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah,
what I
purgatory.
just realized, I've been missing a lot of Easter eggs as we're discussing episodes, so I wanted to go through them real quick.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So, episode 1, you start off with the turtles.
The turtles! We haven't discussed the turtles at all.
No.
Turtling up for the turtle.
They're in every episode.
They are in every episode.
We also have the fact that once they go into the woodsman's house, because they do go into the woodsman's house, and
It's not actually the woodsman's house. It's actually
Beatrice's house.
Beatrice's.
But they foreshadow that because when Greg is practicing to knock out the woodsman, he grabs a log that has bluebirds on it. Blue jays.
Well, and also if you're paying attention in the opening, the prologue, when the frog is singing, you see Beatrice at a mill.
Yes. But you don't know it's Beatrice.
You don't know it's Beatrice, but...
Well, actually, that whole scene right there is, you see her dog, which we see the dog, we think it's the beast at the beginning. Then you also see the blue jay that she throws the rock at that curses her.
Yeah, she's like, fuck you, bird.
Yes. And actually that whole scene right there is really foreshadowing the whole show.
Yes, it's a circular storytelling, which, when executed well, is amazing.
You also see the 2 pieces of wood that the woodsman throws away, and they come back to haunt him. You see the candy, the fact that he's throwing candy, the fact that the candy switches form. Because if in episode 8, they look like M&Ms. In episode 1, they look like little wrapped candy bars.
Yeah, they look like...
Yes. So they change forms, and I think that also gives you that symbolism of they're in the... Because throughout the whole series, you think they're from a different time until you start listening to the way they talk and certain little things they say. Like when Greg...
Shut up, Greg.
No, Wirt.
Yeah. He says, shut up, Greg.
No.
A lot.
He alludes to a lot of...
He
specifically in the episode where they're in the old guy's house, he starts telling Beatrice about all the stuff that he that he is super anxious about. That's actually really normal stuff.
Yeah.
And he mentions clarinet
trauma bonding.
Yeah, but he mentions clarinet, and
poetry.
He says he talks about making a tape.
Yeah, that's what I was going.
And
with.
I was also going on episode 2. He says. He goes into that house where you see the turkey sitting at the table, and he goes, "Do you have a phone anywhere?"
Right.
Yeah, so they, something that I kind of noticed on episode 1, and it's been a while since I've watched it, so I'm kind of counting this as a first. I deadass forgot that they were from an original, another time at first. I knew that they were, in peril somehow, but I forgot. The way that they're dressed, you've got Wirt, who looks like he should fit in. He looks like a wizard, but other than the
a garden gnome.
Yeah, he looks like a garden gnome, but aside from the weirdly pointy hat, he basically fits in. Everything else is vibes. But you've got Wirt. He also looks like he should fit in, except
Greg.
I did it again. Every time I go to say Greg, I see Greg from Steven Universe's face on his body, and it feels wrong, so I say a different name.
So we got Greg, who looks
Like he fits
old
in.
timey, because he's got the poofy pants and
he's
like
got
the
poofy pants,
overalls.
But then just to fuck with your brain a little bit, he has this tea kettle back upside down on his head, and like it's just enough of a breakup of this like period point clothing to like. Hold on, why would he do that? Why would he do that on purpose during that time period? He wouldn't. So why is he doing it now?
Yeah, and that's another thing. And again, the shoes being two different colors. You go into episode 3 when they're in this, 3 when they're in the schoolhouse, and then you see, someone was in the little
dunce box,
and someone was in there for 12 units of time. Because we don't know if it's 12 days,
12 hours,
12 minutes. It's just 12.
Maybe
it could
they
have been
got bored
12
and just-
seconds.
Maybe they got bored and just started scratching numbers.
but
Yeah.
there's 12 scratch marks.
You also see these little squirrels that pop out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The angry squirrels that attack the gorilla. They are actually almost in every single opening.
Oh,
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cool.
yeah.
And it goes through like that for most of the show. Is they have little things in the background that you just don't, unless you're looking for it, you don't catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, I thought it was fun. That's what I do. I look for the weird shit.
For sure.
We were on episode 5 as we're...
Yeah, episode 5 for me was kind of boring. I mean, yes, it's a transition of tone, and it's a very good transition of tone, and it exemplifies how corporate greed and opulent wealth hoarding is fundamentally bad for the individual who does it and society as a whole.
Yep. I actually agree with you on that. I also felt that episode shows very much this, what's the word again? The person that doesn't want to leave their house and...
Oh, agoraphobic.
How an agoraphobic person will react if someone comes into their life, because he starts acting very paranoid and very, are you real? Are you here? Are you a real person? That episode also had a very different feel too, because we get in episode 5, Beatrice is almost dead after episode 4.
No. Yes.
Yes.
She almost dies at the end of episode 4.
Yes. And
because she's not allowed inside because...
We didn't even... Well, we were finishing episode.
Yeah.
Episode 4, you have Geppetto that's there.
Mm-hmm. Geppetto, yeah.
The Dark Lantern Tavern itself is describing what they need to do to the lantern.
Right. The whole tavern acts as exposition dump, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. I think coming from the end of it, I can definitely see that they were limited on time to write it. Not to say that this story overall suffered, but some of the plot points seemed a little rushed.
Yes.
Like, I understand why Beatrice was so pushy to get them to go with her, but in the first episode, it seemed so forced. When she was first introduced, it seemed so forced. And, like...
It felt like this was a plot point that needed to happen, so we don't have time to make it organic.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which, again, with it didn't necessarily hurt the overall, storytelling, but knowing that they didn't have a lot of time, I understand why they've done it now.
Yes. Episode 4 was definitely one of those episodes. It felt like a filler.
Kinda. Yeah.
It felt like a filler episode.
The tavern.
Oh, yeah. It felt like a filler.
Episode 5, the beginning of it made me feel like we were back in a flashback. Just because you start with the uncle, as they call him in this episode, talking to and it looks like he's just talking to Greg and Wart. And you're thinking, oh, well, we were originally in the woods. How did we get here?
Right, because you end episode 4 with them literally fleeing from the beast and the huntsman.
Yes. And you're like, okay, how did we get here? Obviously, this has to be a flashback. And then all of a sudden, you see Fred and Beatrice, and you're like, okay, so we're not. So what's going on? To me, this was the episode that really made the twist.
Mm-hmm.
It made you realize that a lot of other shit was going on.
Mm-hmm. I honestly thought Fred was going to be a more important character from everything I had seen.
I thought he was going to stick around for the rest of the series.
I literally thought we were going to have, like, a bird, a horse, and 2 boys running around in the woods for the whole series once he got introduced. And then he goes, nah, I'm going to be an honest horse. And I was like, the fandom latched onto you for no good goddamn reason. You said, I want to steal, and the fandom went, yes.
Speaking of the fandom, do we want to transition to the fandom?
Yeah, I feel like we've explored...
It's up to you.
Or do you want to continue talking about death?
Well, I want to finish with the thought that this is where you really get into the thought that Wart is losing his hold on living.
Yeah. We can end briefly with the metaphors on a whole discussion of mental illness.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had mentioned how the rich uncle man,
he gives off big schizophrenia vibes. Like, the schizophrenia is not typically shown correctly in media. Usually it's like this, like, ooh, they usually can confuse it with DID, but, like, schizophrenia is your brain is supplying you with stimulus from outside of your head that is not actually happening.
Right.
Like, so the fact that he is
non-violent.
Yes. The fact that he's, like, going through his house unsure what is real and what's not, that really gave me, like, big schizophrenia vibes. Like,
yeah,
honestly.
And then as from that point on, we really see Wirt losing his battle with anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He loses his will to live, especially once the betrayal of Beatrice is revealed. Because he has this goal of getting him and his brother home, and he's reluctantly found a friendship with Beatrice. And he didn't want to find a friendship because he's like, no, I'm not worthy of friendship. This isn't something I want. But Beatrice grows on him, and there's this lovely moment of them on the boat singing hopefully about going to Adelaide, and like Wirt finally has this moment of hope and joy, and he's like, we're gonna get home, we're gonna really make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the betrayal happens, and that is the start of the fall of the hero for Wirt.
And the betrayal, like, you symbolize, as far as the
symbology?
No, not symbology. The Easter eggs and the foreshadowing goes in the betrayal. When you meet Adelaide, she has the symbol of the Black Widow on the on her back, and she's playing with the cat's cradle. Mm-hmm. With her thing, which cat's cradle's a fun game, but it also, if you play it with other people, you trap their hands.
Right.
So it's showing that it's a trap, foreshadowing that this is a trap for them, and I thought it was really interesting how they put in there the fact that she keeps saying, "Don't open the windows," or "Don't let the night air in." Mm-hmm. The night air is bad, and that's also a symbolism of. Because back in that time frame, the Black Plague and things like that.
Yeah. People thought it came in through the night air.
The night air, and also asthma, mm-hmm. which I thought was pretty cool, mm-hmm. being as we are all asthmatics in this room.
We are broken.
Hey guys, it's Jay. Welcome to the party. I hope you've been enjoying our podcast so far. Thanks for sticking around. I know this is a pretty long first episode. Not sure yet if this is going to be the norm, but this one ran over. I had a perfect ideal time in my head, and that did not happen. There just wasn't a lot for me to cut. So we are sitting at a long one, but I think it was worth it. Let us know if you don't agree. It might hurt my feelings, but I'm ready. So we're still trying to kind of nail down the format, and this little mid-break kind of thing is just going to be here for, potential ad roles in the future, mostly housekeeping. If there's something going on, if you guys, have said something cool, we want to like bring it up, I might put it here. This is just, general housekeeping stuff, nothing big. Please send any recommendations for like what you might want us to cover, what you might, want to hear from us, any stories you want to, like, not stories, any fandoms or series that you want us to cover. We already have a really long list in the Google Drive, but we are totally willing to add to it. So just give us some recommendations. We'll shove them in there, and we will get to them. You can find us at WSIWT, stands for Why Should I Watch That? wsiwtpodcast at gmail.com to send any recommendations or notes or anything like that. We are also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at WSIWT_podcast. You can find us on all of those. The socials might not be up to 100% like, prettiness. I'm still kind of working on some of the back end stuff for, the pictures and everything. But we are active on them, even though they might not look super pretty. Let's see. I think that's all we had for now. If you're a big fan of theories, you might want to stick around to the end. About 2/3 of the way down, we start talking about theories that we have about the show. We didn't really do a good job of segmenting them from the others, but we do talk about a couple of like really interesting theories involving the unknown and whether or not Greg and Wirt are in a certain state of breathing or not. Yeah, so that's really all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. Please let us know if you have any notes for us. We hope that you had fun. We hope you're enjoying it. And we hope we did credit to the series. Yeah. Enjoy.
So yeah, Adelaide is an actually very interesting character, because she actively says that she wants to fill the boys' heads full of wool and just make them essentially slaves. She does say that she wants slaves.
Okay, I'm alive.
What the fuck was that?
A sneeze?
I needed a sneeze!
For those of you watching at home, Myra just turned around, stared at the wall for a solid 4 seconds, and turned around to announce that she was alive.
Oh. I didn't want to sneeze in the
It was
mic!
just really funny.
So, Adelaide is a metaphor for just no longer engaging with your society, just following what everyone says, filling your head full of wool, and
So
just
wouldn't that be hyper-following?
hyper-following?
Wouldn't it be like a societal zombie?
Yeah, a societal
Yeah.
zombie.
I didn't mean to say it like that. Zombie.
Zombie.
Well, I don't know why it sounds so funny.
Yeah, so Adelaide is very much this oppressive mother figure that wants you to follow her point of view and what she expects and wants for you without giving Wirt or Greg any autonomy in how they want to live their lives.
I think it's also kind of a workforce kind of allegory.
Yeah.
Because it really feels like a minimum wage worker kind of thing. Like, you will start to work for me, you will do nothing else, you will keep your head down, you will do what I say, and you will eventually die.
Yeah, that's, a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
See, I have a voice.
No, I just find it fascinating how she ends up dying at the end, because it gives me very much feels of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Beatrice straight up murders her.
Yeah, but yes.
It's fucking metal, to be honest. Like, you start hating Beatrice in episode 8, if you didn't already hate her, as Jen was
7.
giving the head nod of, well...
I'm sorry, she was my least favorite character by a long shot.
This is 6.
You have rights.
I know.
Who was it, 6?
This is episode 6.
Fine. Episode 6. Anyway, you really start hating her for the trust that she has betrayed within the boys.
In my opinion, the mechanic of need to get boys to witch could have been utilized a lot better with a different character, or even with no character. It's kind of like if you were playing D&D, forcing an NPC into your party's campaign to force them towards a destination, rather than just leaving Easter eggs all over the map for them to find and figure out on their own.
Yeah, it could have been a lot smoother done with the huntsman being like, well, there is this witch, but like I don't know anything about her.
Right, and like if you think she's obviously designed based on Studio Ghibli, specifically the witches from Spirited Away. If you look at the way that they handled, what was her name? Baba something? I don't remember.
Not Baba Yaga.
No.
It's
Baba.
Yeah, sure. If you look at the way that they treat her in that story, she's kind of seen as what we would consider, like, honestly, kind of the same as, what's her name from this one, the one we were just talking about? Adelaide. She's this overly motherly figure that you work for. You're basically running her shop for her. Mm-hmm. She asks for big prices to keep you safe in this weird world, and it's considered a safe place.
Right.
But it's obviously actually not. So, like, they did that in Spirited Away without having to force you towards it. With the way that happened is Chihiro just kind of stumbled into it.
Right.
Which they could have used as a driving force for the plot, rather than, hey, this blue jay that we probably wanted to use for a plot point that was supposed to happen but got cut is now a part of the story because we like her a lot, because that's the feel it gave.
I think...
I can see it.
I agree with that they could have stumbled. I think Greg could have stumbled upon her. I don't think Wart would have. Because
Absolutely.
Wart's personality prevents him... He needed someone to push him to that point. Mm-hmm. Because even you see it from the first couple of episodes, he's apprehensive at everything he's doing. Everything.
He double guesses himself at every turn.
And I feel like him going through his descent in the following episodes would have hurt more if it was solely his decision to go to the witch. If he was not... if he actively made the decision, I think this person will help and I will lead us there, his descent would have hurt so much more.
Oh no. Welcome to Heartbreak Town.
I agree with that, but I think his descent wouldn't have hurt as much though, because of the fact that when you finally see his life before, you can see his distrust in people. Mm-hmm. He has this distrust in people in general. He doesn't trust his brother. He doesn't trust his classmates. He doesn't trust himself.
Well, he doesn't even trust his parents for the implication.
And so with Beatrice, he's finally giving that trust to somebody, and the fact that it's shattered...
Can I pitch something? Why can't it be Word?
Because
you mean Greg?
I'm sorry. Why can't it be Greg?
Greg comes from something he already distrusts.
Right.
He doesn't trust his stepfather.
Right. So what you're saying is he's a bigger source of distrust.
Correct.
So why wouldn't that hurt more if he finally trusted him?
Oh
no.
See, y'all talked yourself into me being right. I didn't have to do anything.
Okay, but also...
Damn.
I'm just saying, if he put all of... If maybe Greg heard about this witch in, like, with the bar.
The tavern episode.
The tavern, yeah. And someone was like, hey, I got help from this witch. You could too. And it could totally be like a,
or like my nephew got help from...
Yeah. It could, you are allowed to lie to...
NPC, to your player characters.
You are allowed, in plot, you are allowed to lie to the narrator. That's what makes it cool when they get duped. So they could have been... Greg could have been misled to believe this person was good, and Wirt could have made the active decision, I trust you, I think this is a good idea, and I'm going to use that information and make a decision.
Oh, think of if they had that emotional plea of like, I know you don't like me, and that, there's this whole distrust between my dad and your mom, and but I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I feel like...
Oh, and that would have made...
No, you're good. Go.
I'm sorry. But if they went with the original storyline where Wirt doesn't escape the unknown. Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
This is... I feel like part of my gripe with this is the creators obviously weren't given the room that they needed to tell their story. But I also need to acknowledge that the way they used Beatrice was obnoxious at best.
Beatrice, I feel like, was done dirty by the necessary plot cuts.
Yes.
And I get it. I'm not hating on her as a character. I'm not hating on the way the writers did it. I just disagree.
Because I feel like there was this whole analogy and allegory for Beatrice finally getting some freedom and autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way she turns back into a human is she cuts her wings.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you see cutting your wings, it means, you know,
You're taking away your freedom.
you're you're losing your freedom. You're losing some sense of self. And so I think for Beatrice, I think she was supposed to like being a bird originally, or at least that's the vibe it gave off of. And instead, she's like, I'm a bluebird and I'm dying constantly. You two are literally killing me every second I'm with you. And I feel like there was so much potential there for Beatrice.
Yeah, I feel like if the creators were able to tell the full story that they wanted to, we might have gotten a different side of her that would have been a lot better and more engaging to see.
Yeah.
But that is not what we got. We got this really obnoxious, hey, listen, follow me. Hey, listen. Hey.
Navi!
Navi, you want to come with me? I'm going to show you where to get to this lady. Also, betrayal. And that's all.
Yeah, and she doesn't even really get a chance to... Well, she does kind of in the final episodes, but it doesn't really feel like a redemption arc for her.
I'm going to pitch something.
Okay.
Aside from sassy and plot point, what else do we know about her as a character?
She likes dogs.
Yep.
Do we know that, or did we did we infer that from watching? Do we know that?
We don't know that.
Thank
we
you.
do know that she feels some sense of loyalty and obligation to her family.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it.
Yeah, that's it. She's also not really happy with her family. We do know that. Listen, this is not the first one-dimensional female character we have received in media.
I know, but
she
I don't
won't
like
be the
it.
last.
And I'm here to make sure everyone fucking knows it.
Beatrice was done dirty. I understand that it was due to plot cuts because they went from 18 episodes to 10, and a lot can happen in 8 episodes.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay.
But...
Yep.
Yeah.
We're in agreement.
We're in agreement.
The court is in agreement. Moving forward.
I wanted to talk about the last couple of episodes.
The last couple of episodes are really, like, it's huge.
It's such a good... Like, we talk about the tonal shift from episode 5 forward, but there's a tonal shift from episode...
It's really 5, because...
Well, even from episode 8, because after...
Episode 8 is a huge shift. Huge.
Mm-hmm.
After Greg makes the decision to stay with Wirt, despite Wirt being fundamentally, at this point, irredeemable, I would dare to say. And, like, he
I
has
would
made...
say more fundamentally doomed.
Fundamentally doomed. There we go. That's a better way of phrasing it. Thank you. Greg decides to do right by his brother, and he is the moral core of the two. But then you start seeing this absolute corruption of this pure, innocent, good being, and it's heartbreaking, because he wouldn't have to do this if Wirt just put on his boots and acted like the young adult he's supposed to be.
And I feel like that scene, for me, that scene really spoke out. Like, it felt a lot like when you look into, like, people who suffer, like, depression, when they have younger siblings, that shit fucks with them. Like, you're, as the younger sibling, you're forced to, like, take on more responsibility to try and either make their life, you know, a little easier, or, like, you know, help them cope. And it's not even out of, like, they flat out asked, it's out of, like,
the parents tell you to do
or
this.
not even that. Sometimes it's just, like, moral responsibility. Like, I feel like this is what I need to do to help. And there's...
And I think also, if you think about it at the age that Greg is you as a child don't fully understand what depression is, and you just want to see them happy.
However, you might not know that, but you know what Greg knew? He knew he wasn't coming back. Because he came back, and he basically said his final goodbyes to his brother.
Yes, he did.
He knew he was going to die.
He flat out knew that he was sacrificing his life so that work could move on. And that is heartbreaking. because he's looking at his brother who is dying, and he at this point knows what death is because he makes the conscious decision to
return
say
to death.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Yes.
He makes the conscious decision to throw his life away so that his brother can walk away, knowing full well that he might not even have the beans to do it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna try and save my brother even if it kills me, so that maybe he can finally go give that tape to Sarah and finally play, the clarinet with confidence.
I would rather us both die than me live knowing I could have helped.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
You have this whole sense of shift in tone, like you said. And you see it even in episode 5, because episode 5, they're in the house, they're looking for the 2 coins, which signifies the crossing over, and Greg is at that point where he just throws the coins away and goes, fuck that, we're living.
Right, because there's this whole, we talked about it in a previous discussion of how the T-Baron and the T-Baroness very much feel like this element of Great Expectations where they're frozen in time and they don't want anything to change. And while they're growing their house and they're growing their empire, they feel very stagnant as people. And
the search for coins that they went on in going to them felt a lot like the River Styx.
Yes.
In you need a coin to pay passage on the ferry. And knowing what we know from finishing the series, they were dying, at the very least. They obviously were trying to go after some kind of payment in some kind of allegory towards that. And the fact that Greg actively took them and threw them away, and we followed them as they went down the well. Like that, even in the way that they animated it, held more significance than they gave it, which is really cool.
Yes. And I like how from that point forward, you start really getting flashes of what they're living through as the rest of the show. For instance, in episode 7, when they fall into the pond, which they can stand in, but for 30 seconds, you see Wirt try to swim towards Greg, trying to save him out of the water, but they can both stand in there. That, I think, is a flash to what they're currently living, because we find out in episode 9 that they're actually drowning.
Right.
So that, to me, instead of being, they fell in the lake and now they can't figure out that they can stand up. No, I think it was actually a flash to what they're... Well...
For the listeners at home, Myra knocked an inactive mic, so it rattled the entire table.
I'm not klutz.
It's okay, we love you.
Okay.
You're valid.
But I think starting from episode 7, you start getting flashes of what they're actually living through without knowing what's going on. And I like how they end episode 8 with Greg mentally deciding, okay, you're gonna live, I love you.
Good luck, my brother.
Good luck, my brother. And then walking towards death to save his brother.
Because when you watch the episode where they come out of the water, I think it's the very last episode at the very end, when they come out of the water, Greg is the one that's knocked out. Wirt is the conscious one asking for help. And I kind of had this thought of ooh, no, they were trying to help each other out of the water as they went down, and maybe Greg had tried to help him up, but in taking on the extra weight, kind of weighed himself down.
Right.
And I don't know. It's just really interesting that happened in the show that we're seeing, and then we flash to their normal life, and Greg is the one passed out after going through that in the unknown.
And I think it's also the way they end episode 8. I think is very good, because the way they end episode 8 is Wirt realizing that he's losing Greg. That Greg is drowning. He is losing him physically. I don't think he's we don't see it in the show, but the way they end it is Wirt goes, oh my god, I have to save him. He's really coming out of this realizing he needs his brother, and goes looking for him and falls into the ice.
And I think it's a really good telling of how mental illness can affect the siblings and the family and the friends around you, and how unintentionally it can not, I don't want to say the word spread, but watching someone you know go through something and not being able to help and not understanding why you can't help, especially from a younger sibling standpoint,
well,
it
also,
messes with you. Also,
the inherent pressure that comes with that fucks with you too. Like, it even, not even just I see you struggling and that sucks, but like the pressure of like, that seems like it is a terrible thing to live through. I don't want to live through that. Like that kind of pressure, being able to see some kind of mental illness like that up close, it's kind of like a warning sign of like, ooh, don't live your life wrong or you'll be sad too. Newsflash, it's chemicals, you can't fix that.
Yeah.
But like still, that kind of pressure is not fun.
And I think Greg deciding to succumb to the beast is another analogy for depression.
I don't think he ever actually truly succumbed to the beast.
Yes, he does. He starts becoming a tree.
He becomes a tree because of illness, not because of because the beast, what the beast wants is for him to succumb to him.
He wants him to be hopeless.
And
what I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. He wants him to be hopeless, and what Greg does is Greg continues to show him that he's not losing hope, because he starts putting him through tests, and like one of them is get him a what was it, a cone or a golden ring or something.
And he had to watch the sun fall
into the teacup.
Yeah.
He had to
He had to sit in the snow and wait for the sun to fall. What the beast was trying to do was chip away at his will,
right,
so that he would succumb and become a tree. Actually, this is something that I kind of wanted to touch on. At some point, Greg specifically says that he's just going to wait for things to get better or something like that.
Right.
And that idea fucking sucks. Because, like, sometimes you have to wait for things to get better, but you're waiting through things that cannot really be waited through. Like, it's like when things are going bad and they just keep going bad, and then you're like, finally, I might catch a break, and they keep going bad. By the time you hit rock bottom, there's nothing left of you to emote.
Yeah.
Like, there is nothing left, and you might even still tumble down.
Right.
So, like, watching him go through that fall and try to keep that happy-go-lucky attitude, pain.
It's a fundamentally doomed
thing, and that's honestly, like, some people who suffer with depression feel like that. Like, forced happiness will eventually lead to good, no matter how bad it is.
Oh, like, that character from Parks and Rec.
That one I don't know.
Andy?
Is it Andy? The one who's always jogging and exercising. He gets introduced with Ben.
Oh, not Andy. Fuck.
He does the Atkins commercials now.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
I don't know. I would say Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yeah, Mr. Peanut Butter is a character we can put a name to.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. It's Ben's boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, like, that kind of, and, like, the Huntsman, you also see it in him, like, sometimes I'm reading directly off my notes, so if this doesn't make sense, welcome to my brain. There are words in an order, and they're not right. Sometimes to weather the storm, you make small, harmful decisions that continue to hurt yourself more and more, and chip away at what you have left. So, like, he's making the negative decision. He's trying to help himself by hurting himself.
Yeah.
The second he finds out what those trees are, and he never asked. That's the thing. He never asked, and I think that was a conscious decision.
He didn't want to know.
He did not want to know, which is fair because he knew the answer wasn't good. But he was in a situation where any hope is good hope. So he continuously hurt himself, knowing that every tree that chopped down had some kind of story that he didn't know. He continuously hurt himself with the one hope of my daughter may come back someday. And that's, like, the perfect allegory for, like, the fact that they are somewhere in purgatory. Like, the inherent need to not let go of his daughter is exactly why... the inherent need to not let go of his daughter is why he's in the forest. I forgot the name of it again.
You forgot
The unknown?
The unknown.
It's unknown to me. I don't know what you want.
It's the unknown.
There, I will not forget again. Okay, thank you. That is the inherent reason he's in the unknown, is because he is stuck in purgatory because something happened to his daughter, and he won't let go. Also, I don't know if we mentioned this yet, the unknown is fucking purgatory.
It is.
Yes.
And this might have been a previous conversation, I don't know if we talked about this earlier, but the creator himself came out and was like, oh, that would have some really interesting implications for the characters within the world I created, wouldn't it? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm also not confirming.
Yeah. And like once you see the end where they fall into the lake, it's literally unavoidable at that point. They were in fucking purgatory. There is no ifs, ands, or but about it once you see that, because like they fall into the lake, the series happens, and then they come out of the lake and the series ends.
Yes.
Here's a fun little red string theory for you. They didn't make it out of the lake. I think. Let me go.
Go. You've got several looks.
I know.
There's only 3 of us. You've got several looks.
They are still dead. Because, here's the thing. This goes back to the major theme of nothing is as it appears within this storyline. Every episode up to episode 10 has a gotcha moment. And it always happens within the last 3 minutes of the episode. And in the prologue, it says, if dreams can't come true, then why not pretend? So to me, that's just confirmation that the boys ending up in the hospital and all their friends are like, oh my gosh, hi, let's hang out more. We don't actually hate you. Sarah, let's listen to that tape you created. You can keep looking at me. I'm still going to keep going. It's all just a gotcha moment, and they're dead.
But why? Go ahead. You've been looking. Go ahead.
So, this was something I was going to mention.
Oh.
So, I think you're right.
Oh.
Because...
That is not what I expected from your look.
That's also not what I expected.
No, because I have something that you might have overlooked.
Okay.
So, they're all in the hospital. Everybody's like, yay, you're alive. Yeah. Woohoo. Woohoo. Then you see Greg playing with this frog. Right. Episode 7, the frog eats the bell. Right?
Okay.
Episode 10, the end of the episode, Greg is playing with his frog and it's lighting up with the bell within inside of it.
Okay.
If it was purgatory, if it was a spiritual trip, the frog wouldn't have been able to bring back the bell.
Okay, so you've bought me on this. Okay, so pause. Okay, they didn't make it out. They went to heaven.
Yes.
They're dead, though.
They're dead.
I mean, yeah, but we don't have to acknowledge that. See, because my initial thought was, no. That was such a natural conclusion that I was like, no. But that's a good point. If the bell was still there and the bell was glowing inside of him, the frog, honestly, I don't remember. Did he already have the frog when he fell?
He grabbed the frog as he was falling.
Okay, so what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Ryder here, I forgot your name, it's fine. What you're trying to tell us is this frog that basically only lived with them for a solid, 2 minutes before the ice?
2-3 minutes, yeah.
2-3 minutes before the ice somehow has a glowing thing that directly references a thing that you had while they were unconscious? Not to mention, if they fell into the water and almost died, I don't think their priority getting out of the water was, hey, let's find that exact frog that we just had before we get in the ambulance. Like, so, ambulance sounds cool and all. I would really like to have a non-hypothermic temperature, but we're missing a frog.
Also, if it's set in, like, I know it's supposed to be, like, modern times or whatever, but, like, it really does radiate an 80s era.
Yeah, that's what I was
energy.
going to say, like, 70s, 80s.
People didn't really go looking for missing kids. I'm sorry, the nature of it was absentee parenting. And kids just went missing. They would run away. And with Wirt's depressive and social reluctance within his school and as a reputation, I don't think they would be all that concerned.
Well, it's not his parents that find him. It's not his parents. It's the police officer that they jumped the wall with.
True.
So at that point, it's the police officer responsibility to check on them. Because he even says, don't do that. It's dangerous. If you do that, I have to go after you.
Yeah, plus, the side note, the way that the cop acts totally backs up your 80s theory, because he finds the kids in a cemetery where they could be doing all manner of things.
Yes.
And he's just like, hey, you're under arrest. Nah, I'm just kidding. Hey, wait, what are you doing running from me? It's not like I care or anything, but like, are you good?
Why are you running?
Yeah, why are you running?
So,
like, it really does kind of back up that whole lackadaisical kids will be kids kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Of, like, they're gonna do stupid shit, just make sure they're not hurting themselves actively.
but I do agree that they're dead. And another reason that I think backs it up is when they get pulled out of the water, Greg is holding onto the frog. That's the only reason I think they would have had the frog. But when they get in the ambulance, they actually are taking care of the frog on the ambulance too. Mm-hmm. They're not just taking care of Greg and Wirt. If you actually look, they have a little blanket and little things for the frogs.
The frog. That's not how you would.
Also, if the frog is conscious during the winter, that means that for some reason it doesn't need to hibernate. So, like,
Well, it's supposed to be the last frog of the season. That's what caused all of this, because Greg kept saying, let's go hunting for the last frog of the season.
Okay,
I heard one last cricket or ribbit, and then that's why he jumped over the fence and he goes, oh, frog. Greg jumps over first, and then Wirt follows.
Okay, so let me pitch something real quick. What if we did not actually travel through purgatory? I'm gonna twist it. What if we traveled through the unknown? A bleeding realm that is neither purgatory nor heaven nor hell.
Okay.
It would kind of make sense how a lot of the spirits that we found in the unknown weren't really malicious. They were neither really bad or really good. They were just people vibing. Hold on.
Okay.
Specifically, I'm talking about, for this specific example, the town of Pumpkin Skeletons. I forgot the name. Hi, my name is Jay. I don't know other people's names. The skeletons there were essentially in their own version of heaven. The only thing missing, they didn't have bodies. But who knows, maybe they didn't want them. At every place we found, like the town with the bar, those people were very happy. We don't know much about them aside from labels, but maybe they're one of those, maybe all of them were people that just wanted to be something in life, and now they have a label and that's all they want. Let me finish. I see your face.
No, I'm thinking.
So, what if them dying was not going to heaven or hell? What if they are now an extension of the unknown? So the map has grown a little bit.
Oh, because it's every person we have interacted with within the unknown feels like they're from a separate time period.
And we've gone through a lot of the Dark Ages, a lot of the colonial era. We went through, like, almost modern Middle England kind of feels with the tea company.
Right.
And now...
Victorian era, sort of.
Yeah, the Jane Austen era with the high-waisted Beatrice gown.
And now we have the 80s. What if they have simply been added to the unknown? Which is for spirits who may have died before their time or in a weird way, and they, for some cosmic reason, they apply to this, and they just get added into this weird puzzle of afterlife.
I really like that. I really vibe with that. It's really interesting.
Or let me spin it a little better. Maybe this was them being added to purgatory. Maybe when the second they entered the unknown, they were already dead, and this was just them trying to find their way back to their home in purgatory.
Or their home in heaven.
It didn't really feel like heaven.
Cause like
I agree. Although that it really didn't feel like heaven.
You know what felt like heaven?
Episode 8.
Greg's little trip.
Yes.
That felt like heaven. That felt like for a hot second he got the opportunity to leave this area and decided to stick with his brother.
Yep. In purgatory. I agree with that because...
Oh, you had a sad thought.
Maybe Greg did make it out. Because if he did make it out, we would have no idea of knowing with this new theory.
No.
We would have literally no idea.
Greg, from that point, from episode 8 forward, is literally just a manifestation of Wirt's imagination.
That would explain why, at the hospital, he was kind of being himself, but a little more subdued.
And off. His hair was combed.
So...
How did his hair get combed?
So that's something that I thought was interesting. But, again, we hadn't seen Greg before his Halloween costume.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, no. But here's my thing with that. His parents aren't there. And no 10-year-old I know combs their hair with, like, the little church part going to school.
So you mean, like, words?
Correct. Greg went to heaven, and from that point on in the series...
Or maybe he lived.
I think he lived.
The creators flat out said
Wirt wasn't gonna make it.
Oh, no.
Maybe this is their underhanded way of being like, none of you know, but he didn't.
No, that would explain why he had his hair combed, because his parents would have been taking care of him.
Because another thing is,
No.
even after the cops and his friends get him out of the water, they're at the hospital. Where the fuck are your parents? Because I don't care how old you are, you almost fucking drowned. Your parents are gonna be at your bedside.
And also, Wirt is a lot more subdued in the ambulance.
Yeah, that's what. Because yes, they were dying from hypothermia. But even as that little motherfucker almost got eaten by a tree, he still had some words to say. He is not a quiet being. He is not a calm being. He is hyper and ready to throw hands, no matter what that has in store.
Yes.
Am I
He is, though.
It's funny because you don't think...
You know what? He saw a gorilla and said, "Plan in action, let's go!"
Oh my god!
No. Oh my Greg.
Oh my god, Greg.
That sounds wrong. Never mind. I retract my statement. Oh, there was something else I wanted to add to that. I fucking lost it. Oh, also, let me just add this too. Wirt strikes me as a dumbass dude whose heaven would literally be, my life is exactly the same, only slightly better.
Yeah, because he's now he's now going, let me play that tape with you. Yes, no, yes.
He strikes me as someone whose peak meal is slightly spiced meatloaf. Just a little bit of taste, but not a lot. Maybe some mashed potatoes on the side. Don't
Extra
put
creamy mac and cheese.
Yeah, he vanilla as fuck in all regards. He strikes me as someone who would flourish in mediocrity.
I was gonna make a mean comment, but then I remembered that he played the clarinet.
I hated the clarinet. Fight me.
Okay,
Susan
he plays the clarinet. I'm sorry, but
that's fair.
That radiates, I hate my life.
As a previous clarinet player, you have rights.
I played the flute.
Flute.
Every clarinet player I knew hated the fact that they played clarinet.
Mm-hmm.
They hate it.
I went to the fucking sousaphone / tuba.
They either switch to the bass clarinet, to a different instrument entirely, or quit band. There is no other option.
Okay, so slight tangent here. You want to know what our entire tuba section consisted of at my insert name here, high school?
Correct.
A transfer trumpet. A transfer trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
A transfer clarinet.
Okay.
A transfer clarinet.
Okay.
A transfer clarinet.
Oh no, that's 3.
A transfer saxophonist.
Oh, why did the saxophonist change?
And a freshman who grew up on the tuba. We were all seniors. It did not go well.
Wow.
Yikes.
Okay, sorry, that's it.
But yeah, no, clarinet players are inherently miserable. I don't make up these rules. I'm sorry if you're offended if you play clarinet, but I am not wrong.
Okay, so band roasts aside, like, those fuckers were dead in some way, shape, or form, and whether or not it was an allegory to, like, purgatory or them underhandedly getting their point across from the original script, something happened. They was dead. Next point.
I mean, that kind of covers it.
Yeah.
Do we want to start the deliberation of why should you watch that?
Fuck yeah.
So, the court is in session.
Court is...
Why
assembled.
should we watch this show?
Bum bum.
So, honestly, I would say you should watch it because it's, only 10 episodes, a total of 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's surprisingly deep for a children's cartoon. Well written, aside from the few complaints that we had. And has peak autumn vibes.
It's well written, aside from the rush the creators were obviously put through. For those of you who skipped the spoiler portion, the plot was a little bit rushed, but it was good overall. Personally, I might put it on next year around fall time just to have something like going in the background while I work, but I don't know if I would actively sit down and watch it on my own. Like, I would have it in the background, I wouldn't sit down to watch it. It was good. Didn't knock anything out of the park for me, but it was good.
Okay.
Mara.
I would say I would definitely watch it again, only because I feel like there was a lot in the background that I missed, even though I saw a lot of stuff that you guys didn't catch.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like there's a lot of hidden gems within the show itself
Sure.
that have not been put out there, and I would definitely say it's a rewatch for me. I would definitely suggest it. Would I say it's like, gotta watch it like 10 times, like it's one of my top 10?
It's not Avatar level.
It's not
Yes.
Avatar level, but it's a solid cartoon, especially for the modern era. I would definitely watch it again, maybe next year. I think it talks to children and not talks down to children.
It's a
which
very
is-
good family movie. Or
A
show.
show.
Sorry.
Yes. So as in all, I would say it's definitely a watch.
Definitely worth a watch.
Definitely worth a watch. Even if it's just once.
I would agree with that.
Definitely
Aye.
a watch.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we got a hit.
So that's why you should watch Over the Garden Wall. Our next episode is gonna be. You idiot! I'm sorry, we can cut it out. I forgot!
As Sam just spoiled to you, the next episode will be redacted. Why do I say redacted? Because you're supposed to guess. If we have, Sam doesn't have the brain cell today. It's fine.
No.
If you are still listening with us, congratulations. We're going to give you a little bit of a hint right after this. I'm going to play a small clip from our next feature. And whoever guesses it right, you get brownie points.
And maybe in the future you might get surprise merch.
Oh, that might not
Ba-ba-ba.
happen. Bruh, it's
We don't
episode
even
one.
have. It's episode 1.
I said maybe in the future. I didn't
You
say
are-
tomorrow.
We'll give you a shout out if you get it right.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you a shout out.
Sam,
Yes.
what are our socials?
Oh, hold on. Why don't I just pull that up real fast? Like I totally have prepared. So, we have an email at wsiwtpodcast@gmail. And the rest of our socials are as follow. WSIWT podcast at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with an underscore between the acronym and podcast.
We'll put them in the show notes too. But
Yes.
follow us. You can totally send recommendations to our email or maybe tweet it at us. I don't know how Twitter works.
Yeah, you can tweet, you can tag us and stuff, or however you want to get our attention. We will gladly take suggestions.
And criticism.
And
we will
criticism.
definitely take criticism. We are not down for, like I said earlier, we are down for the criticism.
And definitely follow us on all the socials if you're interested in any of the fandoms we're going to talk about. After the episode has aired, we're going to post like fan art that we found that's really cool with credits to the artists. Don't worry, we know. Fan art with credits to the artists, any cool fanfics that we found, cool fan theories. We'll post links and appropriate credits along with them so that you can kind of get a feel for like what you're going to get into with the fandom and stuff.
Right.
This one was really tame, so I had nothing to say on it.
Aside
Yeah,
from the average weird ships and the idea that worst
I didn't
is the
even
beast.
really see any weird
that
ships,
was-
honestly.
honestly, same.
I mean, they shipped the huntsman with the beast.
But that's like predictable.
Yeah, that's predictable.
but it's-
That's not Harry Potter level. I'm sorry.
No. Harry Potter has some ships.
My base for weird ships is Harry Potter. My base.
The house and the squid?
The house and the squid is one. Of
The
many.
castle in the squid, not the house.
Sorry, the castle.
The castle and the squid.
Okay,
I'm
anyway.
sorry.
There's houses in Harry Potter. Hello?
Anyway, thank you for listening to Why Should I Watch
Stop
That?
offending Harry Potter person.
Oh, bitch.
Oh my god, this got real serious, y'all. What the fuck?
Thank you for sticking around with the end with us. Sorry for the discourse that suddenly came from out of fucking nowhere.
Out of nowhere, madam.
Still love you guys.
Yeah, so, what was it? Instagram, Twitter, that does not say LinkedIn, TikTok, and email any recommendations you might have to Gmail. We hope to see you guys for the next episode, and we're gonna lead out with a hint to the next episode. If you guess it right,
We'll give you a shout out.
we'll have and you'll have a close place in our heart.
Well,
Yes.
no, you're actually paying attention. Good job.
Bye!